Good day, and welcome to the Impact Investing Show with your host Samuel. I can win. Kinwin. Hope you guys are doing well today, guys. Today's show, episode 41, we have got so much to share with you guys. I'm so looking forward to the things we are going to share on tonight's show. Now, some of you, those of you who have been rocking with us each and every single week might be asking themselves, Samuel, how comes this show's running a little later than usual? And I'm going to be very, very transparent with you. The reason why the show's running a little later than usual today is because the vehicle that I filled up with furniture for one of the HMOs had a flat tire today. So I ended up getting picked up by the roadside recovery and actually being taken home that way. So guys, I do apologize for the slight delay on tonight's show, but nonetheless, we are gonna get into it. Now, if you're interested in seeing a little picture of the car on the back of the tow truck, let me know in the chat and I will hopefully get that up for you guys. Now, side by side with all of that, if you are brand new, if this is your first time tuning into the Impact Investing Show, what I'd love for you to do is write in the chat the word new, N-E-W, new. And if you're back again, if you're someone who's been with us before and you're just back again, what I'd love for you to do is write in the comments, ready to go. Just to let the audience know, just to let everyone else in the chat know that you are actually ready to go. And I'm looking forward to tonight's show. We've got so much to cover in such a short time. As usual, I guess I'm safe to say, as usual. So it's going to be a jam-packed show. Really looking forward to what we're going to be covering. But guys, I'm telling you, the news article we're going to be talking about, the things we've got lined up for today's show are going to actually be incredible. So if you're ready to go, let me know in the chat by simply writing ready to go. Now, for those of you who are brand new, let me start off by welcoming you to episode 41 of the Impact Property Show. This is the place, this channel on YouTube is the place where you get creative property investing on demand. That means we talk all things creative property investing. Now, on our Saturday show, which is what you're a part of right now, every Saturday at 6 p.m., we talk about the news, specifically what's taking place in the property world as it pertains to news. Now, how did we actually get here? Might be a question that you're actually asking yourself. How did you end up having some kind of regular engagement on YouTube sharing about property news and also creative property? And it started quite simply. Last year, I was the host of a networking event, one of the largest networking events in the UK as it pertains to property investing. And we would generally have around 100 plus people every single month coming and being a part of our networking event. Now, whilst at that networking event, from time to time, I'd have people at the end of the networking event approach me and ask me questions about their property journey, and this would happen regularly, all of the time throughout the time that I was hosting networking events. And side by side with that, what I'd also get is people that I would be coaching or people that I'd connect with in different ways through means of my property sourcing business, who would basically reach out to me and say, Samuel, how do you do this? Or Samuel, what's your thoughts on this, etc. So people always used to ask me my thoughts, and from a position of property strategy, I'd give people insights. I'd share with people, this is what you should do, that's what you should do. And then 2020 March hit, and on 2020 March we had our last networking event of that year, and our last physical networking event of that year, and straight after that the government announced a national lockdown. And as a byproduct of that national lockdown, I had people reaching out to me in the droves. I had people that were connecting with me, whether it's through Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp. I had Telegram messages. I had messages coming from all sorts of platforms where people were basically asking me, Samuel, what should I do now? And that was basically the heart of their question. Samuel, what should I do now? Look, this has happened. Nobody expected this. What should I do now? And I said to my team, I said, you know what? I want to help people. I want to give back to the community. You guys know that's my heart. That's where I get my buzz from, actually supporting other people in their property journey as well. But I can't do it like this. I can't do it by answering every phone call. I can't do it by taking every email. I can't do it by responding to every message that I was receiving at the time. So I said to the team, look, how can we make this happen? And the team said something fantastic. They said, you know what, Samuel, all we've got to do is make ourselves available. Let me repeat that, because that was such a powerful statement, and it was so powerful when I heard it as well. Samuel, all we've got to do is make ourselves more approachable and more available. And by means of making ourselves more available, we can potentially show up on a regular basis and help people to strategize through their storm. So that was the plan. That was actually the plan at that time, just to help people strategize through the storm. And thus the Impact Property Investing Show was born. We started the show And it was effectively the first series, the first set of episodes were called Strategy in the Storm, where a number of people would phone in, tell us this is what they're dealing with on their property journey, and we'd support them, we'd help them, we'd say to them, look, this is what you need to do. Have you considered this? Have you looked at this? Etc., etc., etc. And this is exactly what we were doing on the journey up until the point shifted, and we started to realize, you know what? With all of this insight that we're giving people, with all of the strategy we're giving people, we're actually helping people to understand how to invest in property. So why don't we shift the narrative? Why don't we shift this a little bit and actually just call the show How to Invest in Property? And that's basically what we've been doing for a number of months and a number of episodes ever since. So now, welcome to episode 41, where we're going to help you move forward, move further, faster in your property investing journey by sharing with you both the challenges that you're dealing with and some of the solutions that can be utilized in order to move forward. Now, I don't know if there's anybody who's tuned in right now who was part of our 21 days of your property investing success. Guys, I'm telling you, that was a bombshell. It was a myriad, okay, of content upon content upon content upon content. Let me know if I've got anyone in the chat who was a part of the 21 days of your property investing success, which we ended only 2 days ago. Guys, I'm telling you, I was dealt with. You know, I was exasperated in terms of energy, just showing up again and again every single day in order to help you guys move further, faster in your property investing journey. So let me know in the chat if anyone who's tuned in right now was a part of the 21 days of your property investing success. And if you weren't a part of the 21 days of your property investing success, where was you? Why weren't you? Okay. But the great thing about that is currently all of the video content from day 1 to day 21 is actually still available on this channel right here. So if you're interested, straight after this video, what you can do is you can basically plug in to those videos by searching for them on our YouTube channel and getting full value out of them. I'm telling you, those 21 days were powerful. We covered so many deep things. This isn't the platform to start going through them, but guys, those 21 days were very, very deep. Now, let's start with our disclaimer before we jump into the content for tonight's show. Here it goes. All information provided and results given are exemplary. Each person's results may vary or differ. Results are based on consistent implementation of strategies, and we advise, yes, we advise that you always seek legal and financial advice from a qualified professional. And if you want some help in connecting you with a qualified professional, let us know and we can point you in the right direction. Now, I want to start off the show right now by giving some massive appreciation to you. Okay, you might not know me, you might not know that I know you, but I just want to appreciate you. If you're watching this right now, whether you're watching this live with me as I'm here right now, as you're there right now, or whether you're watching this on replay, I want to share my appreciation with you. Reason being is our channel is growing as a byproduct of people like yourself who have gone out of their way to tune in, to press the link, to be a part of what we're doing, to see our thumbnail and say, you know what, I want to watch this content. I want to see what this is about. So guys, I just want to share some massive appreciation to each and every one of you guys. Those of you who've hit subscribe, those of you who've hit the bell, those of you who's hit the bell and said you want all notification, those of you who've hit like on any of our videos. Guys, if you have watched any of our content, even for a second, I'm being very, very real. Even for a second, I just want to appreciate you for being a part of what we're doing and helping us grow further, faster as a channel additionally as well. So guys, I want to say my appreciation to you. Thank you ever so much. So today's show, okay, we're going to be talking about 2 specific news articles. I want to just grab them up straight away because I want you guys to really see what's actually taking place in the property market. What are the naysayers and the let me just stop there. What are they saying? What are people saying about the property market? What are people's thoughts about the property market? So let's jump straight into the news and let's see what people have been saying over the last couple of days. I think this first article was actually produced on the 20th. I believe it was the 20th of January. So again, this is fairly new as an article. So let's hopefully bring this up for you guys to see and touch base and talk a little bit about what's being said in the property market. Boom. All right, we got it up. All right, so this specific article that I wanted to start with on tonight's show was actually released by Zoopla. So Zoopla, obviously most people know who Zoopla are or what Zoopla is as a platform, but it's basically a Q&A where basically they're breaking down what's taking place in the property market, specifically as it pertains to effectively property prices and the current changes that will happen with the stamp duty when that stamp duty holiday ends. So it says Q&A: with the stamp duty holiday due to end in March, we expect to see this housing market activity intensify. Now, this was an interesting one for me because when I saw this heading, I thought to myself, hold on a minute. Most mainstream media are not saying that the property price is going to intensify, it's going to increase, it's going to explode when we have this stamp duty holiday ending in March. And the reason why is because up until the 20th, up until the 19th of January, what was actually taking place is we had lots of people saying that there's going to be requests, and there has been requests for the stamp duty holiday to be extended. So the reality is, if the stamp duty holiday is extended past March of 2021, that stamp duty holiday, let's assume it goes all the way to the end of the year. Let's assume it goes even further than the end of the year. The reality is, obviously, the stamp duty holiday ending is not going to be a catalyst to an increase or an intensification of the property market increasing. So guys, I want you to be really mindful of this, because this is what is coming out in some purported media, and again, this can have an effect on how people view our economy and how they view property as a whole. Now, just quickly, if you haven't said hi in the chat, feel free to say hi in the chat. It's great to see people communicate in the chat. Just say hi to one another, and you can say hi to me as well. I'm happy to give you guys a little quick shout out as well on the channel. So it says, this is the head of research at Zoopla takes stock of the housing market, and in their video reveals her 3 key takeaways from the latest house price index. So let's have a quick look at this. Obviously 2020 has just ended, so as a result of 2020 just ended, a lot of these organizations, a lot of these statistic collating organizations are going to have their forecast done, their house price index projections put together for how 2020 went, and also in light of that, how 2021 is going to go. So it says, question, Grain, what's happening to house prices across the country? Answer: house prices are rising at nearly 4% a year. Okay, I hope people are listening to this. Okay, house prices are rising at nearly 4% a year, with the average home now worth £222,900. Okay, so that's an increase, because usually we're tracking at around £220,000 as the average house price in the UK. So this is interesting to hear that obviously there's nearly a 4% increase, so 3-point-something% increase, and also now the average house price is £222,900. It says, to put this into context, this is the highest level since August of 2017, and again, that's something very, very important for many people who understand kind of the cycles, the cyclical process that property goes through. It says, but the UK headline rate of growth hides a varied regional picture, with growth ranging from 5% in the north of England to 2.8% in the east of England. So again, this is already telling you there's certain pockets of the UK, certain places around England where there's more growth than others, and this is quite important statistically for you to understand as an investor, okay? Because if you're investing in a place where there's been a 5% increase, you need to bear in mind that you're going to be investing in a place where prices are higher than they probably would have been 12 months, 24, 18 months ago. So, and again, I guess I'll speak directly to a specific portion of our audience. What this basically means is, if you are a keen property investor and for some reason over the last 12 months, 18 months, you haven't been active, this news means you need to recheck what's going on in that market. Because if you don't do your due diligence in that market, you could come to that market assuming prices will be similar to how they were, you know, when you were active 12 months ago, 18 months ago, when really they could have a 5% increase, they could have a 4% increase, they could have a 2.5% increase, or varied, you know, on average. Now, let's keep going. It says, house price growth in many areas has been prompted by a mismatch between supply and demand. Now, this is interesting because this is what I talk about every single week on the show. Every single week on the show, I tell you guys that property is a market. Our property industry is a market. And as a direct byproduct, what that simply means is that supply and demand are the biggest materializing factors in that market. So what's happening with the supply? Is there oversupply? Is there actual supply? What's happening with demand? Is there over demand? Is there actual demand? Okay, so these are metrics we have to look at to identify what's happening in the market. It goes on to say, we've seen demand levels rise by an average of 40% year on year, and in some areas by much more. Now, obviously, this is people at Zoopla who are presenting this. So they can obviously give you their statistics in terms of how much demand is there based on website hits, etc. Now, it doesn't mean it's necessarily accurate. It's not everybody that looks on Zoopla that's actually going to buy a house. What you find sometimes is some people, some property gurus, some people in the property world, sometimes they offer property courses. They'll have 100 people, 200 people, maybe even 1,000 people in the room, and they'll say to everyone jump on Zoopla. Let's start looking on Zoopla. Now, when you've got, that happening 6 times a year times whatever, 10 gurus, that's an extra 60 times where you've got apparently 500, 1,000 people looking on Zoopla. So that can sometimes skew the results. Okay. And 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have had audiences that big doing that many things all at the same time. Okay. So I want you to bear in mind that this doesn't necessarily mean there is actually 40% more people looking for property. It just means there's potentially, if they're using statistics that I assume they're using, there's probably 40% more people in terms of engaging with their website. Okay. And obviously, because the primary purpose of their website is for you to find property, you can infer that all of those people are looking for property. So I'll read that sentence again. It says, we have seen the demand levels rise by an average of 40% year on year, and in some areas by much more. And that's despite the closure of the housing market during the first national lockdown. But the flow of homes coming onto the market last year was just 4%. So what they're basically saying is, if we've got 40% increase each year of people interested in property, but we've only got a 4% increase each year of actual property stock, there is a mismatch between demand and actual supply. Okay. And obviously that's what cultivates a market to start increasing in price. But let's keep going. Just 4% more, but the flow of homes coming into the market last year was just 4% more than in 2019. Put simply, there aren't enough homes for sale to soak up demand, and this is putting upward pressure on house prices. Okay, it goes on to say their data forecast models suggest annual house prices growth will rise to 5% and then stay there for the first 3 months of 2021, okay, of the year 2021. And you can see, guys, you guys should be able to see on the screen this specific chart that they've put on the screen, where they've basically earmarked April 2017 as being kind of a low point. Now, you can see prior to April 2017, prices were really peaking around the November of 2014 and also the November of 2016, which is coincidentally, should I say, interesting if you believe in coincidence, because of the fact that it was a roughly 2012 where the property market started to really fly out of the slump that it had hit from obviously the 08-09 crash of previously. So again, these are things of interest for those of you who are interested in these numbers and these statistics to kind of just keep in mind. But again, this article goes a little bit more in depth, and it's got some interesting meat connected to it as well. So here's another question that they posed as well. We've got Ecosmios in the chat. Hey Ecosmios, great to see you in the stream this evening. Hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed your engagement on the 21 days of your property investing success. Looking forward to seeing you move further faster in your property journey as well. So let's jump in. So 2020 was a tumultuous year. So why was there record demand for housing? Okay, that is a very, very good question if you ask me. Okay, if there was so much drama and stress in 2020, how come statistically it looks like there was actually an increase in terms of property prices? So let's look at the answer that's given by, obviously this analyst over at Zoopla. The housing market was one of the bright spots of the economy last year. The pandemic and its subsequent lockdowns and restrictions led many people who had spent longer than usual in their homes to carry out a once-in-a-lifetime re-evaluation of their home and lifestyle, stimulating home moves and driving a search for space, such as an extra bedroom or office space. Okay. It goes on to say, okay, more interesting stuff. It goes on to say, this has been captured in their data, okay, which reveals that there were 9% more new sales agreed in 2020 than in 2019. And because it typically takes 3 to 4 months to legally complete on a sale, a slice of these deals will spill over into 2021, which is the reality. A traditional property sale, not all sales, it doesn't take, and I want to say this because I think that's a bit of an inaccuracy, it doesn't take 3 to 4 months to legally complete on a sale. Okay, you have to really read into what's being said. It says, and because it typically takes, so the typical time frame is a 3 to 4 month period for the acquisition of a completion on a property sale, which is very important to be mindful of. Okay, sales can be done much quicker than 3 to 4 months, and they can equally take a lot longer than 3 to 4 months. But again, it's just interesting stuff to think about. So what they're basically saying is in 2021, the first quarter, which we're currently in now, we're going to see an overspill of purchases, properties that were about to be purchased in December, or properties that were offered on December, properties that people said, you know what, I'm interested in buying this, I'll buy this, I'll pick this up at this price, I'll pick this up at that price, etc., etc., etc. So let's keep going. I see your comment in the chat. Ecosmios caught many gems from the 21 days of our property or your property investing success. Thank you ever so much. Appreciate that. So it goes on. We also saw a shift in the type of buyers active in the housing market. More people in wealthier areas where house prices are typically higher are planning a move. On the other hand, some first-time buyers have been hit by many lenders pulling their mortgages for borrowers with smaller deposits. Now, we saw this, we also shared this on the show a number of months ago. It was one of the earlier episodes, probably somewhere like episode 17, maybe even earlier than that, where we saw Nationwide basically start to report that they're going to change from 10% deposit requirements to 15% deposit requirements for first-time home buyers. So what that basically means is if you're buying a house for the first time, Nationwide were expecting you to put up a whole lot more money, 5% increase, which translates to a 5% increase across the price of the property, which translates to a 50% increase in terms of how much more money you needed to raise as a deposit. Okay, so again, this was some of the information that came out in 2020, which was interesting. And I guess by default, what generally happens is if you make it harder for first-time buyers to buy, what you're basically inadvertently forcing to do is making the scenario where the people that are buying are more likely to complete, because statistically what you find is first-time buyers generally have a harder time completing because of the fact that it's the first time they're ever buying a property. A lot of the landscape is new to them, so it might take them a little bit longer to get comfortable with the position and the predicament, and as a result the sale might fall through. It's got a higher probability of falling through. So let's keep going. It says, all of which means that the total monetary value of sales agreed in 2020 is 26% higher than in 2019, bringing the annual figure to over £300 billion. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is this was the government's intention. We spoke about this from as far back as probably episode 3. The government had an intention going into lockdown, going into March when they announced a lockdown, there was an intention. The intention was to stimulate the strongest economies or the strongest components of the UK economy and to not necessarily consider the weaker part. So small businesses were hit very hard throughout all of the lockdowns, and that wasn't really something that the government focused on in a major way. Yes, they did a lot of media talk about it, but in terms of the actual input, in terms of the actual support and help, you can see it wasn't that much. It was a lot of loans being given out, money that has to be repaid, but not a lot of handouts, if you put it that way, not a lot of grants in the same sense. Now, the reason this is interesting is because property buyers, people who are actively going to engage in the strongest part of our economy, they were actually given an incentive through means of the stamp duty holiday. So again, it's really important to understand. You've got house prices increasing, which is one of the things I said was going to happen as a byproduct of the removal of the stamp duty. So people who thought, oh, I'm going to get a deal because I'm not paying tax, what they didn't realize is you're not going to get a deal, because what you're going to save in tax, you're probably going to pay because there's an increased demand. So either way, you're still probably going to pay what I would consider slightly over the odds for that property, because the tax portion has been removed, but the inflationary component has actually been included, which a lot of people going to buy in the market didn't think about. And now you can see the evidence of this right here, because they're saying even though people are not paying taxes on property, people are still spending more on property. Okay, so this is very important information. Let's go into the last components. I don't want to get into the technicals too much, but for those of you who are interested in this, if you want me to send a link, just write the word link in the chat and I'll send a link for you guys to have direct access to this information yourself. It says, drilling down into the data, it's worth noting the sales activity in the south of England in particular is coming off a historically low base. So last year's bounce back in general housing market activity combined with higher selling prices means that the total value of homes sold in the southeast and east of England is up 37% on 2019. What they're basically saying is, if you look at the whole market, you look at the market in the eastern region, in the places like London, Southampton, when you go to the more southern and eastern regions, one of the things you generally tend to find is that they were already slumping in terms of the activity, but now there's been a strong rebuttal in terms of obviously the market. Let's read the last two questions, or the next two questions, and then we'll wrap up there. So the next question was, what's the most sought after type of property? You can see here, while the value of all types of property is climbing, the search for space that was mentioned previously is having a knock-on effect on prices. It has prompted the value of house prices to rise twice as much as flats. Okay, so houses seem to be way more desirable than flats. I don't only think that's because of people's desire for space. I also think it's because of the increased information that is coming out through means of the internet. People are getting more savvy. People are starting to understand more about acquisition of property. There's a lot of YouTube channels like our own. Obviously, we specialize in creative property investing, which is slightly different, but there's a lot of YouTubes where mortgage brokers, mortgage companies, mortgage lenders are talking about property, talking about how people should invest. We've got a lot of channels by other people who are specialists in their own fields in the property sector, advising people on how to invest. We've got so much education right now, which is absolutely free on the internet. Look at the 21 days we just did, 21 days of your property investing success. Again, there's so much content out there, which is what I also think is a contributing factor to many people saying, you know what, I'm not buying a flat, I'm going to buy a house instead, for example. But let's keep going. It says, while it has prompted the value of house prices to be twice as much as flats, with the average rate of year-on-year growth for houses standing at 4.3% compared to the 1.8% for flats. Okay, so you can see here this specific chart that Zoopla has released as well. You've got the left side annual growth rate in terms of flats, 1.8% in terms of the average growth, and then you've got the right hand side, which is the annual growth rate in terms of houses, which again has an average of 4.3% in terms of its increase. Now, typically houses are harder to acquire than flats because of the price. Okay, so again, if the influx of price growth is greater with houses, that's also going to have an effect on some investors. Let's jump into the last question before we wrap up on this. It says, traffic on Zoopla surged by 70.5% on Boxing Day. And again, this goes back to what I was sharing earlier with you guys, that a lot of this stuff sometimes is Zoopla's interpretation of how basically people are engaging with their website. And here they're saying on Boxing Day, it surged by 70.5%. So on Boxing Day, people were looking for property probably at a higher rate than ever before in the conception of Zoopla, or at least if it's on the last year. What does this mean for the months ahead? Okay, so here it goes. There's traditionally a spike in interest in moving home on Boxing Day as people turn their attention to the year ahead. But this most recent seasonal surge was far higher than the 61% increase recorded on Boxing Day in 2019. And the momentum seems to be sustained, with searches on Zoopla for December up until the 26th, up by 33% on the same time period the year before. It goes on to say, with the stamp duty holiday due to end in March, they expect to see the housing market activity intensify as buyers focus their efforts on securing the tax savings. Now, like I've said already, for me personally, I don't believe there are tax savings. Okay, I believe those tax savings are going to be deployed into increased prices. But again, that's just my view. Let me pull this up a little bit so you guys can see it all. That's just my view. Not to necessarily say you have to subscribe to that view, not to necessarily say that's the only view, but guys, I want you to be equipped and armed with an understanding that it's not just because there is a saving as it pertains to tax that you should assume that you're necessarily going to save money, because it doesn't always work like that. Okay, if you're going to buy a £100,000 house and previously the tax was £3,000, that means you're going to be out for roughly, obviously there's fees included as well, but we'll come on to that later on. That's roughly £103,000 if you think of it like that. But then if there's a stamp duty holiday which has an effect on supply and demand, and there's a higher demand for that same £100,000 property, you might now be buying that £100,000 property for £105,000. This is stuff I've explained previously on our videos, and I want people to really warm to this idea and understanding, to understand, look, I may be paying more for this property than I would have before this stamp duty holiday, just by virtue of the fact that there is a stamp duty holiday, because now there's 5 people looking at this property when previously there could have been 2, 3, or even just one. So guys, hopefully you got value from that article. We've got another article which I'm going to jump into in a moment, but at this point of the show, we do what we usually do. I want to do what we usually do, which is ask you guys the question: what are the property challenges you are presently facing? Let me know in the chat. Great to see my man Samuel Cole in the chat. Great. Let me know, guys, in the chat, what are the property challenges you're currently facing? And what we're going to do is we're going to open up the phone line, which is now open, so you guys can call in with any of your specific property questions and let us know what are the property challenges you are facing specifically. Okay, so what are the property challenges you are facing? You feel free, guys, let us know in the chat, side by side with letting us know in the chat. You can call in on our number 0330 606 0403. That's 0330 606 0403. You can call in, utilize the access code which is on the screen, and let's have a chat. Let's find out what you're dealing with in terms of your specific property challenges, so we can help you move further, faster in your property investing journey. So whilst that's up, you guys have everything you need in order to call in. I'm going to jump into this second news article which I recently saw and thought definitely needed to be shared also. Let's see if we can get this one up as well. Okay, I hope I can. We shouldn't have a problem with this. And like I said, guys, if you guys want the links to any of the news articles we are touching on, just let us know in the chat and we'd be happy to share that with you. We can throw that into the chat. Usually, guys, for those of you who are new to the stream, all of the links that we share are in the description. Okay, I'll say that again. All of the links that we share are in the description of the video. So if they're not in the description right now as we're having the show, they will be in the description very shortly after. So again, guys, we try to show you guys and provide you guys all of the links in the description as we push through the show. So if you don't see any of those links in the chat, you can also check the show notes later on and see if they are in the description. So let's jump into this article. Again, another one which is going to be really interesting and just share with you guys exactly what's taking place in the property market as it stands right now. Okay, because there are so many people who don't really know what's taking place in the market presently. And guys, thank you for your comments. I got these comments coming through which I think are very, very pertinent in terms of where we're actually at right now. So guys, those of you who are contributing through means of the comments, thank you ever so much. I got Ecosmios in the chat who says that is a key. Appreciate that. Samuel Cole in the chat, he says very true. Appreciate you, Samuel Cole, for jumping on. And Ecosmios says so true, stamp duty holiday would make prices go up. Okay, and it's funny because I feel as though so many people don't realize this stuff. Okay, and again, it's not to belittle anyone, it's not to be rude, it's not to insult anyone, it's just the way a market works. A market works based off supply and demand. If you find a way to increase demand but you can't increase supply, which we know we can't because we live on an island with finite land, then what's going to happen by default? Prices are going to increase, and when prices increase, people pay more. Okay, so a lot of people have ran into the property market with the stamp duty holiday assuming that they're actually buying great deals, or assuming that they're buying property with a discount. And even the language that is being used in media is the discountry language. Oh, it's discounted by tax, or it's tax free, or etc. But the reality is tax free doesn't mean you pay less. Okay, and this is something we have to, as a community, share with each other so we know, so we're actually aware and we're on guard of what's going on. All right, let's jump into this article. This is from The Independent, and again, this is fairly recent. This was on the end of December, just at the end of December as things were wrapping up, and they were talking about house prices in 2020, which I thought would be relevant to kind of give you guys a little backtrack and look at a few things which are quite interesting. So it says house prices surged 7% in 2020, but experts warn of sharp slowdown in property market. Okay, so we've just read, apparently according to the Zoopla analysts, that the prices are going to potentially increase after this March stamp duty holiday. Okay, so that's one group of people saying, hold on a minute, price is going to increase the moment after the stamp duty holiday ends. Excuse me. Now here we've got Ben Chapman for The Independent basically saying the absolute opposite. So let's go into this. Stamp duty cut and pandemic have encouraged more people to move home, says Nationwide. Okay, so let's go deeper into this article and you guys will see exactly what we're talking about. We've got a big Conor McGregor up in here as well. Okay, it says house prices rose by 7.3% this year as the coronavirus pandemic prompted thousands of homeowners to seek larger properties with space to work from home and gardens. After the property market was largely closed in April and early May, sales rose sharply, helped by raising of the stamp duty threshold to £500,000, according to Building Society Nationwide. The average sold price reached £230,920, which is slightly obviously above what Zoopla have said in December, up 0.8% on the previous month. Despite the economic turmoil caused by COVID-19, annual house price growth was the fastest since 2014. It goes on to say experts warned that current price levels, which come in the context of low mortgage interest rates, are not sustainable. Okay, I'm going to read that again because it's very important to understand what's being said here. Experts warned that current price levels, which come in the context of low mortgage interest rates, are not sustainable. Okay, so I want us to be mindful of that. Let's keep going. House prices are likely to come under mounting near-term pressure as the economy is hampered by pandemic-related restrictions, while there may well still be a significant rise in unemployment despite the furlough scheme being extended until April, said Howard Archer, chief economic advisor to the EY Item Club, which is Ernst & Young. Meanwhile, earnings growth looks likely to be limited, he added. He forecasted a 5% drop in average prices next year, but said the Chancellor could choose to support prices by extending the stamp duty threshold increase, which is due to expire on the 31st of March. Okay, so again, this is going back and alluding to this idea I spoke about earlier about stamp duty prices being increased. We have Mr. Rashford on here also now. All regions in England saw price rises of between 5% and 9% this year, Nationwide found. Obviously, that's Nationwide Building Society speaking specifically, where Zoopla is speaking more generally. In the outer southeast region, which includes cities such as Brighton, Southampton and Oxford, prices were up 8% following a 1% decline in 2019, which is similar. Statistics are different, but a similar narrative that was just shared in what we previously read. It says the neighbouring outer metropolitan region, which includes places such as Slough, Guildford, Crawley and Chelmsford, was the weakest performing English region, but still saw prices rise by 5.6% over the year. Meanwhile, London saw a 6.2% increase, with average prices reaching their highest ever at £486,562. Now, good question is, where's a great area to do a strategy like flipping properties? Obviously, London alludes to that. So the key is really buying great deals. I speak about this all of the time. We've got our webinars that we do every single Monday on our masterclass, where we break down Monday 8 p.m. every single week how you can take advantage in this climate and win. And in that masterclass, this is one of the things we talk about, how you can actually pinpoint areas to actually move forward in your strategies. So it says in the Northwest and Yorkshire and Humberside, where annual price growth increased to 8% and 7.7% respectively, Wales saw prices rise by 6.6%, whilst Northern Ireland saw a 5.9% increase. Scotland saw the weakest growth of the home nations, with prices only up by 3.2% in 2020. Now, I'm going to suggest that might be because Scotland had a different regime of lockdown to other countries such as Wales, Ireland, etc. So these are things to bear in mind as well. When your lockdown process is different, you might have made it harder for people to buy, harder for people to engage with that economy and that market, etc. It says data from the Bank of England also indicated that the property market is booming. Mortgage approvals for house purchases accelerated for a fifth month running in October to 97,532, the most since 2007, shortly before the housing market crashed. So what this is basically saying is we're in a position right now where so many mortgages are being produced, so many mortgages are being qualified, we're really kind of in keeping with numbers as it were in 2007, right before a crash, which is interesting, which is why the narrative in the Independent is potentially there will be a 5% drop in prices of property if Rishi Sunak doesn't extend the stamp duty holiday, for example. Now, I guess this is a good point to kind of rein some things in before I push forward. What you guys have to understand as property investors, as people interested in investing in property, whether for personal reasons or for profit reasons, we have to understand that this market we're talking about, this market we're looking at, is a market that is subject to change and subject to influences. Now, the government can create some of those influences very easily by creating stamp duty holidays, by extending stamp duty holidays. But the time comes where the stamp duty holiday ends. Again, if it does end, for example, what happens next? Okay, does the market still thrive and survive, or does the market retract? Okay, does the market decline? Now, on the Zoopla statistics, they're saying, well, excuse me, when it ends in March, assuming it ends in March, the market's going to increase. The Independent is saying, if it ends in March, the market's going to decrease. Okay, I'm interested in your views, guys. Let me know in the chat. You can use the word I, you can use the word D, increase, decrease. Let me know what you think is going to happen to the property market if the stamp duty holiday is not extended. And let's all assume it's going to end on the 31st of March. What do you think is going to happen to the property market? Do you think it's going to increase? Do you think it's going to decrease based on some of the things we've shared? And guys, if you're not watching this live, if you're watching this on a replay, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think the property market is going to increase, or do you think it's going to decrease as per the end, assuming that the end of the stamp duty holiday is going to be on the 31st of March 2021? Now, let's keep going. We'll read a little bit more before we jump off and go into some of your questions. I've got iConnector in the chat who says decrease. Thank you ever so much for your contribution. And again, iConnector, if you're new to the community, if you're new to the live show, just write the word new so we can welcome you as well. But great to have you in the stream commenting. And guys, everyone else, let me know, what do you think? Increase, decrease as a result of the end of the stamp duty holiday, if it does end on the 31st of March. Now, I've already covered in previous episodes, I think it was episode 38, where I spoke about my view on whether the stamp duty holiday will end on the 31st of March. But again, that was for another show, and we can get into that if you guys are interested, but let's keep tracking on. It says the latest monthly figure was up from 92,091 in September, 85,704 in August, and 67,433 in July. So these are numbers that are basically increasing month in, month out as it pertains to how many people are securing mortgages. Robert Gardner, Nationwide's chief economist, said government support and the flow of cheap borrowing had helped to push house prices higher, but the outlook is now highly uncertain. Guys, what I want you to think about is this. What were the two things that helped house prices to get pushed higher and higher, and lending to push higher and higher in 2007? The exact same two things. Ease of borrowing. They weren't the same processes, but they were creating the same outcomes. Ease of borrowing and government support. Okay, ease of borrowing and government support. In 2006, you could do something called self-certification. You can walk up to a broker and say, look, I'd like to get a mortgage on this particular property, and I can self-certify. I can tell you that I can pay that mortgage. So it was an ease of lending. I hope people are understanding this. Now, the ease of lending now is not the same. It's not the same mechanism. It's not using self-certification, but there's an ease of lending taking place right now that we have to be mindful of with low interest rates. And again, that's not the lender's fault. This is not Samuel bashing the lenders. Guys, I'm not trying to bash the lenders. The lenders are going to do what the lenders have got to do. Lenders make money by lending you money. I hope you understand that. I'm going to say that again. For those of you who come to the show with your pen and your iPad and your notepad and you're ready to take notes, I'll say it again. Lenders make money by lending you money. So what are they incentivized to do? To lend you money. Okay, so you have to bear that in mind. Don't assume that lenders want to hold their money back. No, they make money by lending you money. They make money on the interest, they make money on arrangement fees, they make money on a number of components. But the key is lenders make money by lending you money. So they want to lend you money. You need to be mindful of that. Okay, so it goes on to say, obviously, Robert Gardner here is saying this is creating an uncertain landscape looking forward. Okay, and I want people to be mindful of that. It's an uncertain landscape, because what he's saying without saying it is in 2007, in 2006, the same thing was happening with a different process. And that resulted in an economic crash. Now we're in 2020, 2021, the same things are happening. And potentially they could cause an economic crash. But he's just not using those words, all right, which is very, very important. Here's where it goes powerful. The furlough and self-employment income support schemes provided vital support for the labor market, while a host of measures helped to keep down the cost of borrowing and keep the supply of credit flowing, he said. The stamp duty holiday also stimulated housing demand. Are you seeing this? Okay, because it's easy to read, mainstream tabloid papers and hear the stamp duty holiday is there to support. But what you have to understand is this is the kind of thing that economists understand. It's about supply and demand. This is why I talk about this every single episode, guys. And you can see here that Robert Gardner is putting his finger on that straight away. He's saying, look, hold on a minute. The stamp duty holiday created increased demand. That's what Rishi Sunak wanted. He wanted more people active in the property market in order to boost our economy, because in March, I said it on our show, probably episode 2, there is a current recession in the UK. And the UK never announced it to anyone until we got to August, or even further than that. Why? Because they were hiding it with all of the news about the pandemic, the virus, etc. and lockdowns, okay? And I said it on the show, one of our earliest episodes, episode 1 or episode 2. I said, guys, listen, when they're fed up with killing us with news about what's going on with the pandemic and with the virus, the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to tell you about the state of the economy. And the economy has been in a chokehold under all of the news that's been going on about other things, okay? And for those of you who are interested in investing in property, guys, you have to keep the main thing the main thing. If you didn't write that down and you're taking notes, you need to write that down. That's some good notes for you. You have to keep the main thing the main thing, okay? If I'm an investor, I need to understand the landscape that I'm investing in. I need to understand the economy, how it works, that I'm investing in. Okay, I can't be sidetracked and distracted by all the other hundreds of things taking place in the world. All right, so I want you guys to be mindful of that. So here, I'm going to read this paragraph again. The furlough and self-employment income support schemes provided vital support for the labor market, while a host of measures helped to keep down the cost of borrowing and keep the supply of credit flowing. He said the stamp duty holiday also stimulated housing demand by bringing forward people's home moving plans. Lenders also responded by offering payment holidays to borrowers impacted by the pandemic, helping people stay in their homes rather than potentially being forced to sell. And obviously we had similar ramifications as it pertains to the rental market as well. So that's important to say. Let me just read the last paragraph and we'll jump off of this. He added, housing market activity is likely to slow in the coming quarters, perhaps sharply, if the labor market weakens, as most analysts expect. And he said most analysts here, not mainstream analysts, most analysts, especially once the stamp duty holiday expires at the end of March. Guys, I hope you're getting value from this stuff that we're going through, because a lot of you guys who are interested in investing in property, you may not actually expose yourself to these such articles, these news findings, which are very, very important, especially for you and I who want to invest in a market which is constantly changing. It's good to keep yourself up to date. All right, so I asked the question, what do you guys think? Do you think it's increasing? Do you think it's decreasing? We've got some chat going on here. I got iConnector who says decrease. I totally agree. I think there is going to be a decrease the moment the stamp duty holiday is announced. But side by side with the stamp duty holiday coming to an end, I also think that it's going to have further ramifications as well. So guys, this is something to just be mindful of. If you think the market's going to decrease, what does that have as an effect on you? How are you now going to position yourself as a property investor? Are you going to position yourself to say, oh, when it decreases, I'll go and buy? Or are you going to think more laterally? Again, hashtag day 2 of the 21 days of your property investing success, when we were speaking about utilizing metacognition and thinking outside of your thinking. Sometimes when you understand a potential opportunity is going to arise, i.e. the market is going to decrease in value or decrease in price, you need to start thinking about your next steps. What are your next moves as it pertains to this specific thing taking place? All right, now, with that being said, let's jump into iConnector's other comment. Okay, so iConnector says they are new. Great to have you on the stream. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're getting value so far on the stream. And your comment is, if stamp duty is back to normal, less buyers will be interested in buying. That's correct. Vendors will need to compensate the lower demand by lowering the prices. That's basic economics 101, 100%. And I totally agree with that. I think that's so true. If the stamp duty holiday is removed, you're going to have less people in the market, and the moment you have less people in the market, prices are going to decrease because the demand is reduced, even though the supply is the same. Now, another thing which I think is quite interesting, which I'm going to mention in terms of your comment, is something I spoke about, I think 2 or 3 episodes previously. One of the things I was basically breaking down, again, for those of you who've been with us for a period of time in terms of the 41 episode journey, you will know that I've raised this a couple of times, but it's also about the kind of buyers. So right now, the type of buyers I assume that are in the market are the type of buyers who are not aware of what we've broken down today, the kind of things that I've seen and shared on our show again and again and again. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not attempting to buy right now. That doesn't mean I'm not open to buying. And it doesn't mean that everyone who's trying to buy a property now and who has been trying to buy a property since the stamp duty holiday was announced all the way in July. Again, if you haven't seen our video on that, feel free to go and watch our video on that straight after this stream. But what that does mean is that the kind of people, the majority of the people that, in my opinion, have flooded to the market to buy property because of the stamp duty holiday are the kind of people who haven't actually figured out what we've just broken down. And because they haven't figured out what we've just broken down, they, in my opinion, are more of the novice buyers. And if they are more of the novice buyers who are excited to buy right now because of a stamp duty holiday, the quality of those buyers isn't the same as the quality of the more investment buyers, people who understand the market, understand the cyclical nature, understand supply and demand, and are looking for an angle where they can actually find great deals and not just property acquisitions. So again, it makes a massive difference. And guys, again, if you haven't already, let me know in the chat, do you think at the end of the 31st of March, when the stamp duty holiday ends, that the property prices are going to increase, or do you think they're going to decrease? And again, those of you, if you're not watching live, feel free to let us know in the comments. So we've got Ecosmios. Ecosmios also says she believes there's going to be a decrease in the prices of property. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would not be surprised because of the way things are currently going. So guys, this is one of the powerful things about property investment. We're investing in a market which historically we can kind of see how it relates, how it responds to certain activity. And it's that kind of insight and knowledge that we are supposed to use to become even more advanced investors, to become even wiser as we invest, to be even more creative as we invest. Now, this is something we really have to be mindful of. We don't want to be the people that are caught basically being taken for granted because we didn't realize, hold on a minute, by you doing X, you've actually caused Y. And because you keep saying, oh, we're doing X, we're doing X, we're doing X, everybody thinks X is a savior, when really the effects of X causing Y is something which is detrimental to you as a property purchaser or as an investor. So again, these are things we need to really be mindful of. I see Ecosmios' comment in the chat, creating scarcity from one of the things we said earlier. Totally agree. I definitely agree that removing the stamp duty holiday, a number of things that have taken place have been done to create scarcity in order to put people in a predicament where they feel like, oh, I need to buy now. I need to buy before March. And you've got so many people who are trying to complete their sales before March, okay? And I personally feel like there will be an extension. Again, I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes. I feel that there will be an extension in terms of the stamp duty holiday. That's my feeling. You know, obviously, I'm not a politician to know if they're going to push forward with that, but that is basically my feeling. And I look forward to see if they're going to do it, and if they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, in order to see how things do basically move forward. So again, guys, you know, interested in your thoughts, always interested in seeing what you guys think, and what you guys think is going to be the ultimate outcome of the things we are actually discussing right now on the show. Now, for those of you who have not, I want to encourage you to go and get this key resource. This resource is absolutely free for those people who are part of our community. This is called Your 7 Best Books for Your Property Investing Success. This resource, you can go and get it from the link right here. That's www.impactproperties.co.uk/book list. Okay, impactproperties.co.uk/book list. Now, if you go and get that book list, what it's going to have is the 7 best books that we have handpicked and recommended for you in terms of your property investing success. Whether you're an Uber investor, you've been investing for years, there's going to be value in there for you, or whether you're a brand new person who's new to property, just feeling it out, thinking, is this for me? These books are going to set you up with a clear understanding of what it entails, what you can get involved in, how you can start to make money, whatever predicament you're at, whether you've got small funds available or large funds available, etc., etc. How you can scale up your business, how you can even take your business to the next level through means of utilizing automation, etc. So this 7 best books for your property investing success is a jam-packed resources in terms of the recommendations that it makes. Now, one of the great things about this resource is 60%, probably even more, but roughly 60% of the resources we recommend in this book are actually audio versions also. And we've also put in there links that you can use to go and get those audio books, one of those audio books out of the few, absolutely free, with a 30-day free trial of Audible, where you don't even have to keep the 30-day trial. You can cancel it before the end of the 30 days, but yet you still keep whichever book you decided to get. So go grab that resource. Absolutely worth you. Absolutely worth it for you to go and get that, and also to tap into any of the specific resources from there that you might find of value. Now, let's have a quick look in the chat, see if we've got any questions in the chat. What questions do you have, guys? What challenges are you facing? Let's see if we've got any questions, or maybe everybody has worked out from the 21 days of your property investing success. Maybe that 21-day journey took all of the zeal and energy out of us, because guys, I know those 21 days were jam-packed, absolutely jam-packed. Let me see if there's any fresh comments in the chat, which maybe I haven't seen yet. Okay, and those of you who are just joining us now, if you are part of the 21 days of your property investing success, how did you find it? Okay, how did you find it? I've got Ecos Mills in the chat. She said, yes, I enjoyed it, and also said, caught many gems from it also. So thank you ever so much for that, Ecos Mills, sharing how you found the 21 days of your property investing success journey. Guys, again, those of you who are not aware of what we did for the last 21 days, we started January, from the 1st of January to the 21st of January, delivering live content to you guys every single day for 21 days. You can go and watch that. It's on our channel, the 21 days of your property investing success, absolutely free YouTube content. Just go consume the content. Make sure you've got your notepad, iPad, tablet, pen, paper, whatever you need. If you're like me, you want to get the highlighters out, get your highlighters out, because I'm telling you, boy, you're going to get a lot of value as you go through those 21 days of your property investing success. And for those of you who really want to take it to the next level, on the last day, day 21, we also created an opportunity for you to be able to do that and work with us moving forward as well. So guys, I know people are out there, they're looking for coaches, they're looking for people to support them. Work with the right people, set yourself up for real success. That's always my advice. Work with the right people in order to set yourself up for real success. Now, guys, with all of that being said, I can't see any new questions in the chat. I can see a whole bunch of comments which look like you guys are really enjoying the stream, which is great. I want to encourage you guys to go and watch this video when we finish this stream right now, because if you have not seen this video, how to invest in property for 2021 and beyond, you are missing something. This video is on our channel. It's easy to find, how to invest in property for 2021 and beyond. This video, if you are a traditional investor who's been investing the traditional way for the last 8, 10, 12, 24 years, this insight shared in this video is going to change the way you see property. And if you're brand new and you're thinking, how can I get into property? I don't have much funds. Let me encourage you. Go watch this video on how to invest in property for 2021 and beyond. This video will set you up for success. Now, guys, with all of that being said, I'm so glad to have been able to spend time with you guys on the show tonight. I'm looking forward to our next show next Saturday, 6 p.m. So without further ado, as I usually say, happy investing. Have a great evening, guys, and happy new year.